Good evening and welcome to the Rangers review on Saturday evening. It's not the debrief that anybody watching was wanting or perhaps even expecting, Joshua, but you're live at Rugby Park. You watched the game there. You spoke to the manager. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, well, sorry we're a bit late, first and foremost. We're obviously waiting around. Spent a lot of time in press conferences waiting around. Overall reaction, Euan, is I think obviously the worst start imaginable. I think don't need to say that, but I guess to start there, this has been a summer that's been all about the new, but it felt like a performance you've kind of seen before from Rangers, and not in a positive way. I feel like I've watched that kind of first half at Rugby Park too often. And Michael Beale didn't have too many complaints either. He did, I think, fairly in mitigation look at chances at the end of the first half, and Rangers obviously Kilmarnock score from a mistake, forced in the Rangers box. But I think that the issue was for me, Euan, that the game was kind of left in that. It was left in a vulnerable position, wasn't it? Where you if you don't take those chances, and if you're not gonna perform really well, and it's a difficult pitch that was really dry. Beale spoke after about it being, not being a beauty contest, I think was the phrase he used. A lot of new players gelling, etc. But we've spoken a lot over the last number of weeks about obviously the importance of this August, the importance of buying time to gel and to improve as a team, to allow new signings who won't have shown their best face today and will show a better face to do that. So yeah, obviously it's the first game of the season, and etc. But it's hard not, I guess, for anyone who's went and watched that to feel really disappointed in it, because there just wasn't too much to hold on to. Again, if you come away from a game like this today and maybe Rangers scrape a 1-0, or there was that opening day at Rugby Park, was it 3 years ago, where Connor Goldson scores that late header, and that wasn't a great performance, but you get the result and you move on. The difficulty is, the pressure is already huge on any season. It's already huge when you've lost a treble the season before. It's about a new manager. It's about a new style of play, a new group of players. He needs results to buy time for that. And I think that'll be the big frustration for Michael Beale watching that game back. Lots of different stuff to get into, which we will over the coming days. Watching the game, I didn't feel like there was loads of great opportunities from Rangers. I think the Dessers one in the first half kind of epitomised the fact that the Kilmarnock very narrow, really narrow. McKinnon spoke after about presuming that Rangers would play a diamond, and when Rangers did manage to get around it or behind it quickly, I just don't think they had quite had that incision to capitalise on it. And ultimately, as mentioned, then you leave yourself in that really precarious position where you concede that kind of long throw goal that Kilmarnock are going to be dangerous from.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of carried on from pre-season, didn't it? I know we've been keen, a lot of people saying, and me including this, I've said we don't read too much into results in pre-season, but the performance kind of mirrored that, and it was lethargic. There was a real lack of urgency. Me and Josh put a post-match instant reaction on the website, which you could read. But I mean, I thought in terms of creativity, it was shocking. Granted, Kilmarnock deep, but the likes of Lammers couldn't really influence the game. Kieran Dowell was pretty quiet, and I don't think there was anyone willing to kind of take on a man or beat a man and go by someone, or kind of drag the. Kilmarnock did sit deep. They defended well, but Rangers kind of allowed them to defend well in a sense. I think sometimes there's no runners taking people out of position and creating that kind of space for players to go into. So all in all, it's a dreadful start to the season. There's no way you can sugarcoat it.
Yeah, no, there's not. I mean, I guess there's two sides to it, and there'll be people who will say don't panic. There'll be people who really do panic. Sitting here watching it, and when we cover the club closely, you're always trying to work out what a manager's trying to do, and you're trying to think, will this be successful in the future? I think that today the most frustrating thing is not so much that. From my point of view, it's not so much that I don't think the style of play worked today. I don't think it's so much that you can't see a style of play. Aside from all that, I think the worry will be that there's just such little room for mistakes in the title race, whether that be in Scotland or whether that be down south. Teams constantly put up 90 plus seasons, and Rangers, what was it, 92 points Rangers had last season, and they didn't win anything. So I think that just demonstrates how flawless you almost have to be throughout the course of the season. I asked Michael Beale in the press conference because when he came into the club last November, I think it was his first 8 away games he won, and Rangers actually seemed to having struggled in the road before that. I think Gio's last 2 games were St Johnstone away, or 2 of his last 3 were St Johnstone away and St Mirren away. We dropped 4 points altogether, and very quickly Rangers did. They came in one here, and they won away at, obviously 2 times in Edinburgh as well. And he kind of just reflected on those chances that passed them by, and kind of conceding, I guess, that there was a bit of a lack of fluency, that there was I think lack of connection was a word he used a few times. And I guess that's to be expected, Euan, because a lot of these players, I think it was 5 full debuts today and a few coming off the bench, or maybe 1 debut off the bench, but a few other options. Obviously, 9 players have come in this summer. And that's what Beale said, that's the work that he has to do. He has to go and make that fluent quickly. He has to go with this group of players and bounce back, because there's just such little room for error, I guess, at this club. And I guess for him that will be the big frustration today, that results obviously buy time. I don't think he'd have expected to see the best version of his Rangers team here today. I think Kilmarnock, you're right, for me, they turned it into the game was played at pace, that suited them more. I think what Rangers kind of didn't manage to do, beyond anything tactical or personnel wise or team selection wise, what Rangers kind of struggled to do for me was have concerted periods of pressure around the Kilmarnock goal, take the sting out of the game. I think when you come to a ground like this and you know what type of game that the home crowd wants, and take nothing away from Kilmarnock, because I thought they were very good. They defended very well, and I actually think in the second half they probably played the better football when they did break away in transition. But you know what I'm trying to say, in these type of games, I think you need to take the sting out of it. And I think the way that Rangers did that under Beale last season was, think of Easter Rose away or Tynecastle, was they had those kind of quick threats and they just punished teams when they left space. Today, I think with no space, because there wasn't really space at all, what they needed to do was build play better, and Beale called the build up a bit stuffy at points, but kind of keep the ball away from their goal, keep Kilmarnock away from, prevent the crowd from getting up. And I didn't think they were ever really able to do that. And if you're not going to do that, and although you might control the ball, and then you don't take those chances again, you just leave yourself open to go and concede a goal like that, which feels like such a trademark of these games, where it's stuffy and it's bitty, and it's ultimately born out of a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mistake from John Suter. The ball gets stuck under his feet. He doesn't move his feet quick enough, and he can't clear it. I'm not too sure if he was trying to take a touch or whether he just expected the player in front to kind of win the header, and then therefore he wasn't expecting the ball to come to him. But he's just got to clear that first time, in my opinion. Thought Suter was okay, actually, in terms of the rest of the game. I thought he was okay. I thought Nicholas Raskin was probably
the best
player on the pitch. I think Beale did say that post-match as well. I mean, in terms of the kind of tactical approach today, there's a lot of comments coming about that and saying, what is the style of play and things like that. I mean, you do your tactics more than anybody, Josh. What do you think of that in terms of? Do you think those concerns are legitimate?
Yeah, of course, because Rangers haven't won the game, so you can't turn around and say that they're not. But I think you've also got to try and look at what they were Rangers were trying to do. It obviously didn't work. Beale didn't start Todd Cantwell. I think the idea behind that was with Kilmarnock at points putting 2 up top and keeping it very narrow. We wanted Raskin and Lundstrom in there helping to win second balls, because it was a physical game. It was a very physical game, especially in that area of the pitch. But as well, with Tavernier playing higher, Lundstrom dropped in. Now, that's not me saying I thought it worked. I didn't think it worked. I thought that there was too many players, so the game just passed them by today. And Nico Raskin's a good example of that. It's not as if loads of things came off from Euan, but he demanded the ball. He drove forward with it. He was visibly very frustrated. I thought even when Cantwell came off the bench, although stuff didn't come off for him, you could see that Beale said in the press conference he was almost over trying. I guess having a style of play and it working is 2 very different things. I know there's been a lot of conversation about Rangers, will a lack of width hurt them under Beale this season. I don't think that did domestically last season, if you look at the record that he had after coming in November. And ultimately, of course, the proof will be in this next month. If Rangers are to go and lose 3-4 games and the style doesn't work, then it doesn't matter what I or you or anyone else says. The proof will very much be in the results. I think with these type of games now, you look at how deep Kilmarnock are. There's almost no midfield in these type of games, is there? It's all about trying to play over the top into the and behind the defence, which didn't really work in the first half. There was a couple of moments with Sima, but not really. The pitch was really dry. There was such limited space to play the ball through the pitch. I don't think Lammers got into the game nearly enough. And again, you look at that big Dessers chance where he doesn't. I don't know what they expect the goals in it, but I guess the bigger point is there wasn't many moments like that where it was a kind of clear cut opportunity. And Rangers were unable to take it. So, yeah, no doubt today. Sorry about that. No doubt that the style of play didn't work, and I can understand. I can understand frustrations with that, and I can understand some people will think that any conversation about style of play after that type of game isn't worth noting at all. There was no doubt that the Rangers were nowhere near close to a fluid performance. And yeah, again, to keep going back to the point that I think has been right throughout this podcast, if you do that in a game like this, first game of the season, it's an energetic game, and they've got a lot of new players, Kilmarnock as well, you leave yourself in a vulnerable position. And I thought once Rangers went behind, they never really looked like that's when things especially started to break up and look disjointed, because they didn't create much before whatsoever, and I don't think they created nearly enough after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of comments coming out of the pitch. I mean, it's well documented about the pitch. It can't be used as an excuse. As a factor in play, it looked really slow today. It didn't rain or anything like that. It was slow. It impacts the performance, but it can't be used as an excuse. I mean, my opinion on the pitches is that they shouldn't be allowed in the top flight, but that's a separate matter. It's not an excuse at all. It shouldn't be used. But just in terms of pressure, there's no getting away from the fact that will ramp up the pressure on Michael Beale and the players. I think going into the Old Firm at the start of September, speaking before this game, the general consensus was that Rangers need 9 points from 9. That's not, you can't achieve that now after losing today. So the pressure will be ramped up. I suppose it's now about going to the game on Wednesday night and showing the fans that and putting on a performance and seeing a bit of a backlash to that and a bit of a response, and they need to put on a big performance on Wednesday night.
And you can totally understand it as well, because you're right, pre-season hasn't been, again, we've had separate conversations about the type of game that Rangers have maybe been trying to prepare for, but it's not really whetted the appetite. You've got all these new signings and there's been optimism all summer, so I think then when you have a result like today, naturally it's going to puncture that. And let's not, again, to go back to that point of, yes, the league is 38 games long. There's not much margin for error whatsoever, and people want success and they want to see a process that they can buy into and trust into. And I think Beale very much going into the summer has had that last season, despite the fact that he ended it trophyless. I think there was enough there to show that if he got his players in, he could start to build something and maybe bridge the gap that he wasn't able to with the group of players he inherited last season. And we can't say definitively yes or no whether that's going to be a success now, because we don't know. We can't predict the future. I'm not confident enough to back myself to do that. But you can understand that people, I think when you are watching a football team, you want stuff to hold on to. And today wasn't a game where you come away from it and you think, do you know what, they missed 4 really good chances, or yes, their goal was a mistake, but it was very much, it felt like it had a bit of an inevitability, this type of game. And I felt like for periods under Beale last season, Rangers had kind of escaped that. So, of course, the pressure is huge, and the pressure is always going to be huge. It would have still been big if Rangers had went and won today. And they now, of course, need to kind of bounce back and start to build trust, I guess, that all that excitement is worthwhile. There's a lot of new signings that are going to take time to get up to speed. 9 in, you'd expect more to come. Beale spoke about players not involved today, saying that there was 1 or 2 whose futures are elsewhere, and it's just a matter of when that's going to be confirmed. There's no doubt, Euan, that yes, Wednesday's huge, but even more than that, you're right, those 2 league games before, and that Old Firm game just becomes absolutely seismic, as it already was. Rangers, of course, need to win that, because they cannot get themselves into a position like they were last season, where by the time they pick up good form around November, they're 9 points behind. Just a word as well, I thought there was 2 or 3 moments from set pieces where the Rangers actually went really close, and there was one Goldson header where you think, he maybe could have done a bit better. And sometimes those are there's one in the first half as well. I think it was Dessers and Lammers maybe at the front post who were near to converting that. And you just think in this type of game, if you were able to get a break like that, it changes the tone. Ultimately, Rangers didn't, Kilmarnock did, and that's why we're having a conversation about Rangers losing 1-0.
Yeah, it's not the start that anybody, anyone watching the show today wanted. Just a couple of comments, we'll get on them, just kind of echoing what we're saying, what the manager said. No urgency, no real chances, same old, same old. Relay FM saying shocking performance. Raskin looked like the only one on the pitch. He looked seriously frustrated. Josh said that himself there, and Michael Beale said the exact same thing. Yeah, 3 points behind Celtic. Ultimately, that's the state of play after this weekend, and that will need to be rectified over the season if Rangers want to lift the title in May. John is saying don't panic, so he's optimism remains high with John. So I suppose that's another way to look at it. But it's understandable why there's so much concern after not just a result like that, but a performance, Josh.
Yeah, because people wait so long for the summer. It feels like so long without football. So you expect a big show when you come back, don't you? And a lot of new players in the door. But yeah, listen, we'll have lots of content tomorrow. We'll have all the stats bomb data. We're going to have a members video on that. We'll have an analysis piece kind of looking at what went wrong for Rangers, whether it be the style, whether it be the selection, whether it be certain chances within the game. We'll watch it back and try and give a bit more opinion to that as well. And yeah, then you build up to the game on Wednesday. And I think it's so important that Rangers not only get a positive result, but they have a real positive performance that shows a lot of heart and desire, because there's a lot of new players, but there's still some players who've been here for a number of years and players, I guess, always have stuff to prove when you're playing at a club this big, don't they? So yeah, it was going to be a big game on Wednesday anyway. I think tonight's result only makes it bigger.
Yep, so we'll be back for morning briefing on Monday. When the dust settles from this defeat, looking into it in more detail. Josh will have some stuff coming out tomorrow on the website. And yeah, back on Monday. Thanks for everyone who's tuned in today. I know it's not how you wanted to be tuning in on a Saturday night after a result like that, so we do appreciate you coming with us. Cheers.